Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalal.
Phil, great to be back with you, and great to be back on iTunes.
Yeah, I heard that you had to hack into the mainframe and get us going again.
I did. There was some sort of nonsense going on. We tracked it down. We solved it. We're back everywhere.
Normally, we like nonsense on this show, but not this type.
I like nonsense on the show, but no nonsense when we're trying to post the show.
Yeah. How are people finding the show when it's not on it?
I heard that our listens on Stitcher went way up.
Really?
Yeah.
People were like, I've got to find the show. And they sought
Google Play,
alternative.
TuneIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw, we've talked before about the ability to buy a record with the Neutral Zone on it. I heard that sales were way up this week.
Oh, because we have been producing records.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
That's what they keep them in Ben Swanson's office.
Oh, got it. He has a turntable in there, so.
Yeah.
That is nice. Eric, I had an idea.
Okay.
That normally we get.
It's always dangerous.
I had an idea.
When you say that, sometimes you approach my desk. I'm just crawling out of my sleeping bag, and you say, "Eric, I have an idea." I say, "Not now."
You need
Not
your
now.
coffee first.
Not now.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing is more controversial in NZ Nation, really in Broncos country.
Then if the Broncos should have.
The way I introduce you.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, the way I introduce you.
That's where I thought you were going.
It took people a while to get used to the everything. It sort of became our shtick, but it's probably the most controversial thing that people are talking about.
They talk about it a lot.
Yeah. When I get stopped on the street, it's all people want to talk about.
Yeah, they're like, "Sir, why are you weaving in and out of lanes? And also, why do you call Eric your everything?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they're like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
So it works out all right sometimes. But I thought, okay, why don't we set up a little bit of a contest? Have people leave voicemails 707 neutral.
Okay.
With how they'd like me to introduce you.
Got it. Will we play their voicemail, or
when we announce the winner, we'll play their voicemail, and then moving forward for a while at least,
we'll use it.
We'll use it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we at one time had Bronco Batman at the end of the podcast.
Oh, I'm saying I'll use the verbiage. We're not going to play them every single time to start the show.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous.
That would be a little bit too much.
Got it.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Could they also send an email to neutralzoneshow@gmail.com?
They could do it that way too. Yeah.
That could be a nice option.
But I'd like to be able to play some of them. I think that would be funny to play. Okay. Here's some of the options we're considering.
Got it.
It's going to take multiple weeks to get through this.
Yeah, we're expecting so many submissions.
Yeah. Ben Swanson is here in studio, I should mention. That's going to be pretty much his primary job responsibilities, for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so many to go through, it's kind of hard to do anything else.
Yeah. It will become overwhelming.
Fact check? True.
It's almost like, where all
like sending the stickers out?
It's almost like sending the stickers out.
Yeah.
Which also is Ben Swanson's responsibility.
Fact check? False.
Yeah. We did just get a shipment of those in, and we'll have to see,
We'll have to see.
Yeah. The holiday season is coming up, Eric. That's going to backlog some of the mail. Yep. You know what I mean?
Tough.
I was going to say, it's kind of like, the fan mail that comes in. It's like Russell Wilson's mailbox and then the Neutral Zone mailbox. It's almost the same thing.
They're both stuffed to the brim.
Yeah, exactly. So send in a voicemail. Let us know how I should introduce Eric.
There's as much.
Everything is controversial.
There's as much mail in our mailbox as there is knowledge in your brain.
It's full.
That's how much.
It's full.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I like to refer to my brain as sort of like a hard drive. When it reaches full capacity, for something new to come in, something old has to go out.
Got it. Is that why you forgot my name the other day?
Yeah, exactly.
I got it.
Yeah. I was like, what's the least important thing I need to remember? And it was that. Anyway, we got a great show in store for NZ Nation today. We're going to be talking about, is it time for the Broncos to show what they've been talking about for really months now? We would keep hearing, hey, we're close. We're close. This thing's a work in progress. Well, it's time to put up.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think about
You're throwing it down like that?
I'm throwing it down. Spicy. Is it spicy or no?
It's a little spicy.
It's a little bit spicy. I think that it's time, Eric. A lot of talk It's time to put it up. But we're just going to talk about that a little bit, where this Broncos team is heading into this Colts game. Eric, it's Thursday night football.
Man.
That's why we're coming out with this release on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
So will we be at Breckenridge Brewery's farm home in Littleton on Friday?
No, Monday.
Oh, okay.
We'll be at Breckenridge Brewery's farm home.
Yep.
Off Santa Fe and Brewery Lane in Littleton. It's part of the Denver metro area. If you live in the area, come on out. We're there from 5:30 to about 6:15.
That's right.
And we're also live on the Broncos YouTube page.
That's a good spot for it.
That is a really good spot. So if you don't live in the area, watch us on YouTube. It's a nice way to do it. So, Eric, we're going to talk about how it's time for this Broncos team to show what they've been talking about. And then we'll talk about the defense a little bit, Eric. Do you have some concerns after that Raiders game, or do you think that was just a one-off?
A blip.
Yeah, on the radar.
Yep. Nice.
Some people say that.
Job.
Some people say that. I thought you were going to say it, but then you didn't say it.
Well, I think you
Radar.
can say a blip without the rest of it.
Our chemistry. We're just
it's really
start
good.
it and I end it, and it's just
Really
nice
good.
that way. Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. We also have some voicemails. Like I mentioned, 707 neutral. That's how you can leave a voicemail. Our fans, they've spoken, and we play it right here on the air.
That's right.
Swanson, you let a few through this week, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of good ones to choose from, and I think we got some good ones for everybody.
I'll just say it right now. Tomorrow is Tom Agnetti's birthday.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Got it.
Yep.
Well, what if you weren't listening to this on Wednesday?
If you're listening to this on Thursday, today is Tom Agnetti's birthday.
Wow.
So
What if you're listening on Friday?
yesterday was Tom Agnetti's birthday. Yeah.
Those are, I would say, the
Those are the
drop off.
options.
Yeah. After that, pretty steep.
It's too much. Yeah,
Yeah.
after that, it gets really complicated.
2 days ago was Tom Agnetti's birthday.
Yeah, that's too much. I can't handle that. Yeah. And if Tom celebrates right, he might not wake up for a couple of days, this
That's right.
recovering.
Yeah.
Eric, what are other ways people can get involved in the show?
Well, we talked about a couple of them, Phil.
Neutral Zone Show at
Neutral Zone Show at gmail.com, 707 Neutral.
Yep.
Leave a voicemail there.
Yep.
But you could also tweet at us directly on Twitter, at Eric Delala with an A, Phil. Phil Milani with a PH, both non-traditional spellings. Or you could tweet directly at Broncos Podcasts or Broncos Podcats. Both work.
Both work. Both actually do work.
Both
yeah.
work.
So we're all about the non-traditional around here.
That's important.
So you can also go to the Broncos official YouTube page, at Broncos on the YouTube page.
Yep.
Leave a comment there. I read all of them.
You do.
I read all of them.
You
Eric.
just sit there at night and you just scroll.
I got a couple, okay? Anonymy Las Kupka.
Okay.
I love Ben Swanson.
I like these comments. These are great.
Locked on Broncos.
That's another podcast, I think.
So we've got another podcast commenting on our podcast?
Podcast is coming from inside the podcast.
Whoa, what? It says free Ben Swanson.
I just
He's
live
free.
in here.
Telekinetic. It's not telekinetics. It's some sort of a play on that. Okay? Let the guest speak and give him recognition.
Who?
Is that me?
I don't know who that is.
I
not
don't
sure
need
who
to
that
speak any more than I already do.
Is Ben Swanson a guest? I don't think so.
No.
I'm trying
Let
out
the
for
guest speak and give him recognition.
podcast supervisor.
Shinobi Drip. Shinobi Drip. These two crack me up, LMAO. Their sarcasm is just hilarious.
Think Shinobi Drip.
Shinobi Drip. Wardell M. Their sarcasm is, all caps, heavy.
Is that good?
Shinobi Drip response. I love it, lol. Pretty good. Pretty good comments here. Landon Martinez. The most nonsense I've seen in one podcast. Keep it up.
Love it.
See? That's some good podcasting. And then the last one I want to get to here is Adnan Ortiz. This show deserves more views. It's hilarious. Also, does Eric bike? I swear I saw him biking the other day.
I haven't gotten back on the bike since my trip to Seattle.
Yeah.
That was emotional for me. Obviously, I now associate biking with bad memories.
Yeah. But you had a nice trip out there. You went up to Banff.
Banff, yep.
Lake Louise. It was beautiful.
It was lovely that time of year. Getting a little chilly up there now, but when I went there, perfect.
Really nice.
Yeah.
You got to hit that window, you know?
Yep.
So.
And then, of course, went down through Oregon.
Yeah.
Really nice.
That's where your wife's from,
That's
right?
true. Yeah. And then made it back here, Phil.
That's nice. A long journey, but a beautiful
Long journey.
one.
So maybe that
that's where they
commenter saw me on the way back.
I was going to say, otherwise they could catch you on your pelly.
That's right. That's kind of a bike that doesn't move, doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere, but maybe they creep in through the window. Hey, I saw Eric on his belly the other day.
That would be something.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Or maybe they saw your stats, you know, because you like to you hype those up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, look at this ride I just did. It was awesome.
Yeah. Really, I'm quite good in the DVOA rankings.
Really?
Yeah.
Advanced analytics suggests you're one of the best.
One of the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. Fact check?
True.
Wow.
Wow.
I thought you were just fibbing, maybe.
Rude.
All right, Eric, let's get into our first topic here on this episode of the Neutral Zone, talking about, is it time for the Broncos to put up or shut up?
I wish you'd do one of those. Well, Phil, do you want to go first? Because you're not going to like what you're not going to like what I have to say.
Oh, gosh. You're going to enter the spin zone, the spin cycle.
I thought what Justin Allen had to say was interesting the other day. He said, we're not expecting perfection right now, but we are expecting progress. And that, to me, is what I would like to see is you don't need perfection, you need progress. And so that probably means being better. And we've seen some of it in the red zone in particular, but that means being better on third down. That means avoiding negative plays. That means sustaining drives, being better in the run game, all of those things so that you can get to a point where you are, one, not hurting your defense, and two, scoring in the mid-20s on a consistent basis. Now, it doesn't mean being perfect, which would, in my mind, averaging in the high 20s, low 30s, being able to go out there and put up a 40 burger on somebody.
How does that taste?
I think those taste really nice.
Oh, got it.
But that to me is closer to perfection, and I think that while we're going to see that, I believe, at some point, I think it's not just going to happen overnight. And so, to me, it's time to see progress, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's time to see perfection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody's expecting perfection. And I think that at 2-2, like Russell Wilson said the other day, they're within striking distance. And as long as they're in that area, I think you're feeling okay about things. But I will say, heading into the season and really all off season long, there had been this expectation that, okay, I think things are going to start a little slow, but eventually that's going to get rolling here. And I would say that before you know it, all of a sudden we're 5 games in here after Thursday. You know? So it's not,
We are 6 games in. We are 6 games in after the next 2.
We're into the 5th game.
Okay.
At some point, it's like, okay, well, it's time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would say the progress that we've seen on the offensive side of the ball has been Russ starting to look like he's operating in a more comfortable pace. You know, certainly in the first half against the Raiders, it looked like he was more comfortable. Only one incompletion that first half was getting the ball to Jerry Jeudy, getting the ball to Cortland Sutton. The red zone production was better. But now with Javonte Williams' injury, you just wonder, okay, is this going to be another thing where the talk is, okay, it's going to take us some time to figure out how to do this because Javonte was such a big part of the offense?
Well, would you agree that Week 4 was the Broncos' best offensive performance so far?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's hard because they had been playing so well in that first half, and then in the second half, it just came to a screeching halt. I mean, they could not stay on the field. So on one hand, you're feeling like you saw really good things, but then when I think back to the game, I'm like, gosh, that was terrible. You know, the offense couldn't stay on the field. and the defense was out there forever, and they were in 3rd and longs. Like, those are the things that I remember, probably because it was a loss. Maybe if it's a win, it's got a different feel to it. But the feeling after the game is that was not very good. But if you go back and look at the things, it does suggest that that was their best offensive performance.
Yeah, I mean, it starts and ends with Russ, obviously. He looked as good as he's looked since he's been here. The first half was good, and, not to harp on the Melvin again and again and again, but I think if you don't fumble in that situation and you go down and score there, the Broncos had a 1st and 10, you could be talking about a different type of game. And then obviously in the fourth quarter, we continue to see in big moments the Broncos find a way to have success on offense. And so I think if we were through 4 weeks and Russell Wilson he had not clicked.
Would you say he's clicked?
I would say what we saw on last week was very close to clicking. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was a really good performance from Russell Wilson and what you kind of expect from him. If you didn't see that and it looked like he was just not his former self, and in the big moments, you saw the Broncos struggle to convert on offense, I think I would have a lot more concerns. But because you just saw him play at a really high level, and you continue to see him, when it matters in the fourth quarter, step up, that's encouraging to me. Now, is the whole thing going to come together instantly? No. I mean, you look back at the Buccaneers a couple of years ago, the Rams. These teams, I think the Buccaneers were 7-5. And then they went on a run there and obviously win the Super Bowl. The Rams, I think, started a little bit faster, but then they had a stretch where they struggled. I believe they lost 3 in a row, and then they were able to come back and win the Super Bowl. So it doesn't – I don't know. I feel part of it, too, is like when we looked at the schedule before the year, we both thought that there were going to be 2 or 3 losses here in the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season. And so it's just interesting that before the year, you're like, oh, this is where we expect them to be, but then when it's happening, there's a little bit more panic, even though we never expected them to be 4-0 at this point.
No, but I will say when we talked about the schedule, we said right about now is when they're going to rattle off like 4 wins in a row. So That's what I sort of mean by it's time to put up, because you're talking about games that the Broncos coming up here, they need to win. Do you know what I mean? They just got to win these games because after the bye week, it's going to get a lot more difficult. You're not going to be talking about like a 1-2-1 Colts team. Like the level of competition is about to just like go up exponentially. Yeah. And that's no knock on the Colts. I mean, I think that I would say the Colts are still a very talented football team. Matt Ryan is very capable of turning it on, but much like with Russell Wilson, they're kind of trying to figure their way out here. They've had some injury concerns of their own, and they're capable of turning it on. So this Colts team certainly is capable of coming in and beating this Broncos team. But I'm talking about teams like the Chiefs or the Ravens, or just a lot more difficult competition.
Yeah, and you figure, hey, if we had to go to Kansas City right now and play that game, might not look pretty, but you're hoping that by the time you get to that point in December that the Broncos look like a different version of themselves offensively. And so I do still think that we're in this ramp-up period. You're right. They need to get going. Broncos have got to start figuring things out, being a little more consistent because the big plays have been there. The Broncos are 8th in the league in big plays, 2nd in big passing plays. There's been plenty of moon balls.
They've been listening to a neutral zone.
They've been listening.
I said more moon balls. You were like, they have had more moon balls, but I was like, I want more. And then they said, okay.
You're like, I don't believe in stats.
They said okay.
I just feel like I want more moon balls.
Yeah.
But, they've got to be consistent. You can't have a game where you go 3 of 11 on 3rd down. You can't have a game where, you have a whole quarter where you pick up 1 first down. You've got to be more consistent. And I think that they're close to that. But you are right. They got to get it together soon because this is one of those games this week that if you lose this one, you're going to be looking back at the end of the year and be like, not just because the Colts are struggling, but because it's a home game on Thursday night, and those typically favor the home team.
And it's a big moment in the season here where you could lose 2 games in 5 days. Or if you win this one, then you go into the weekend, you're feeling a little bit better about things. You say, look, like that Raiders game was just, what did you say? It was a
rip. A rip
blip.
in the radar.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what you said. I think you said blip, and then I said in the radar.
Yep.
On the radar.
On the radar.
Yeah, you don't go in the radar.
You do not want to do that.
No, that would be bad. Eric, what does concern you? Because you sort of make it feel like things are okay. Do you have concerns about the offense?
I've mentioned concerns. Maybe I just say like one positive thing and you just get angry over there.
Well, I'm like maybe specific things instead of just saying third down or that.
Is that not a specific thing?
The play of certain areas on the team. Like, how do you feel like...
You want me to blast certain guys? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want you to blast. There's a way to go about it where it doesn't feel like...
Show me how.
Okay, I would say that there seems to be some issues with the offensive line because Russell Wilson was certainly facing a lot of pressure against that Raiders team. Understandable, considering the running game, they just didn't really know what to do after Javonte left. Because if Mike Boone was out there, you were concerned about pass protection. If Melvin was out there, you were concerned about handing them the ball and the fumble issues. And then you got down, and then you just didn't really want to run the ball. And then it was just a bad situation where Max Crosby, he wrecked the game. Yeah. So I would say I have some concerns about the offensive line. One, just being all on the same page where they have good chemistry together, where they're able to pick up fairly basic stunts, I would say. Just being able to be on the same page there. And then also just giving Russ some time to be able to do his thing and operate, if he needs to, inside the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, well, I do want to be clear. There's a difference between the offensive line and pass protection because pass protection also calls on the tight ends.
Oh, sure,
it calls on the running backs. And
we saw calling?
Yeah, we saw some breakdowns there, like on the play where the Raiders sent their slot corner in. Mike Boone goes to the wrong spot. And so
I would say Russ probably didn't even see that coming either because he would have moved Boone to the other side there and said, watch over here. So I don't think anybody saw that coming, not just Boone.
Got it. So pick individual people, but not in that case.
No, just keep blasting.
There's no blasting here. But yes, the pass protection needs to be better. I thought Cam Fleming actually did a decent job on Max Crosby in certain situations. Crosby's one of his sacks came on that Beck play where I don't know if Beck's supposed to chip him there or if Russ is just if the running back's supposed to be on the other side or what happened there. But Crosby has a free run at him, and then his other sack came on that stunt you mentioned. That was on the offensive line, and if you have Quinn Miners in there, I don't know if that happens or not. But you just have to. You do have to figure it out because Russ now has an injured shoulder. You don't want him to continue to get beaten up. And then in the run game too, Phil, that might be a more, I know the pass protection is easy to look at and be like, oh, he got sacked there. But the Broncos need to get a better push on their run plays, find a way to get hats on guys and give Melvin Gordon, who I would assume is now the main back, give him a chance to get some yards before contact, get the running game going a little bit. That then helps set up play action. It helps set up some of these screens, I think. There's a lot more you can do when the run game gets going, and we know how critical it is to this offensive system in general. If you can't run the ball, this offensive system's not going to work, and so the Broncos have to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get the run game going, and then another area that I would say needs some attention here is the tight end position. Albert O played one snap in that game. Nathaniel Hackett was asked what's going on with Albert O, and he really didn't have much of an answer. I mean, he just said, I think Albert O has been doing a good job. I mean, players who are doing a good job play more than one snap.
That's true.
I mean, those are just facts. It's not like Travis Kelce plays one snap.
I think that's true.
Yeah. So sometimes you get good stuff from Nathaniel Hackett. Sometimes ours, we got to read between the lines.
Oh, got it. That stands for record?
Yeah, I do the recording.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
The reporting.
The hyping. I guess you do H. You do some Hing, and I do some recording.
Recording.
Yeah.
You do a really nice job, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I've not forgot to hit record once.
Yeah, the tight
this year.
The tight end position is interesting. It seems like, it doesn't seem like it. Eric Saubert is the go-to guy right now. He's the guy that Russ trusts.
That is surprising to you or no? Yes.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yes. That's surprising. What is going on with Alberto, would you say?
Well, you have to be able to block. And so the week before, I believe Alberto played 10 snaps, 9 or 10 snaps. The Broncos passed on all of those plays. And so if you can't rely on him, and it seems like the Broncos don't think they can at the moment to run block or stay in there and pass protect, you can't really have him on the field. So you got to figure that out. It is interesting, though, that Eric Saubert has become that guy. And when Greg Dulcich comes back, I think the Broncos will get some much-needed athleticism. And it's nothing against Eric Saubert, who I think has done a really good job. But you think of Greg Dulcich running that seam route. Maybe he's got a little bit more speed. Maybe he's got the ability to kind of break away after the catch.
Easier catch, maybe, if he's just got a little more separation.
Yeah, and so...
but do you think the scouting report on Dulcich, because we just haven't seen him really do anything, is that he's not really a blocking tight end kind of guy. He's more of like a wide receiver in a tight end's body.
Yeah, I don't think you use him the same way you would use Saubert. I just mean, like, if you can get him in the slot in similar type routes.
Yeah.
But the Broncos obviously missed Tim Patrick, who's a big body receiver. They missed...
what I was sort of meaning is that, like, the knock on Alberto there it's sort of the same thing with Dulcich.
Yeah, I think based on the limited, it's been limited. But what we've seen, I think Dulcich looks a little more natural kind of in the slot there.
Okay.
As like a spread out wide tight end type guy. I think you could put him outside in the red zone, let him go to work against a smaller corner. I think he gives you options, and that's probably one of the things the Broncos liked about him when they drafted him. And Nathaniel Hackett talked about that when Tim Patrick went down, that he is a guy that can go in the slot and make those plays. So, yeah, I could see a situation where Saubert and Dulcich are on the field at the same time. But listen, things don't get easier for Alberto when Dulcich comes back, because that's another talented guy. And so, Justin Allen talked about different packages and how it's game plan specific. But yeah, it is interesting that KJ Hamler played 4 snaps, and Nathaniel Hackett said, hey, he did a really good job. We got to get him more involved. He didn't say that about Alberto.
No. That is something to just sort of monitor here as we continue on. And if you're wondering, hey, what's going on with Greg Dulcich? He was eligible to come off the IR this week and start the clock with him. The Broncos decided not to do that just because of the short week.
Yeah, in my mind, it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
Just because you need these guys to go through a full-speed practice. You need them to know what they're doing, especially with as many mental errors as the Broncos have had or penalties. You can't afford to toss a guy in there that's not ready. And so I would expect he'll play next week against the Chargers. I don't know how much he'll do. I don't think it's fair to think he's going to catch 5 passes for 70 yards. But if he could give him a couple of well-timed catches the way that Saubert does, that would be a win.
So you think maybe just 1 week of practice with the team and he'll be ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully he's been paying attention in the meetings and stuff and is just up to speed on this offense, because he is a rookie. So
yeah,
you just hope that you get some production there. And then the last thing I was going to talk about, Eric, you mentioned the Hamler there, also the Montreal Washington. Those 2 guys give the Broncos something a little bit different than some of their other weapons. And we talk about the struggle in the run game. There's other plays out there that are possible that are essentially a run, but it's just getting the ball in the hands of maybe a Hamler or a Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Broncos tried some of that against the Raiders. There was a play where it was like 3rd and 20.
Forever. Montreal just got it.
They ran a little bubble screen with Montreal. He got some yardage. But there were times when the Broncos tried to run something similar. After the Jerry Jeudy catch that got him down into the red zone, they tried to run a little screen play with Jerry. Didn't work. And so they are trying some of these things. And again, I think in this system, you've got to then count on your offensive linemen to get out there, have the timing be right. We saw in week 1, they throw a screen to Javonte, has a chance to make a play, get down the field, and it just wasn't timed up quite right. And so that's the risk when you run a screenplay, is that if the timing's not right, it's going nowhere. And we saw that with the Raiders too, right? Like on 3rd and 1, I think they made a call, and I believe it was at the 3rd quarter. Derek Carr just like threw it into the back of his offensive lineman,
because it just wasn't there.
And so again, the timing not quite right on that. But yeah, if you can find a way. I mean, Montreal, one thing I would consider is he's been, especially this last game, he was a weapon on special teams. How much do you want to risk him getting hurt on offense? Because if he can give the Broncos 20 yards a return, essentially 2 free first downs, you pair it with this defense that has pinned teams back a decent amount, him getting the Broncos to the 50-yard line or the 45-yard line of the other team, that's worth more to me than, hey, a couple of, I don't want to say gimmicky plays, but jet sweeps or whatever. That to me is more valuable in the in the grand scheme of the season. But Hamler, definitely, you got to find a way to use his speed, take some shots, get him involved, because he brings an element to your offense that Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, for as good as they are, they don't have that speed.
Yeah, just a little bit of a different gear there. Where yeah, it's just going to be, I mean, these are things that all teams have to work their way through during the course of the season. Just, hey, how are we going to use this guy more? How are we best utilizing our weapons? I think that the Broncos have tried a lot of different things. They haven't quite got there yet, and they still don't quite have an identity on the offensive side of the ball where, going into this Colts game, for example, what exactly are they trying to do? We don't really know what that is. And maybe to start the year, or certainly before last week, that was to get Javonte Williams the ball, get that going. Now that he's hurt, the identity is really up in the air.
Yeah.
So these things are all going to have to get figured out, and in my opinion, in a little bit of a hurry here, just because they got the Chargers on Monday Night Football after this. That's going to be a huge game. And then after that, it's the Jets, and then it's the Jags in London. So these are the games they have left before the bye week, and then after that, it's a whole different sort of beast.
Yeah, I mean, you would love to be able to go 3-1 here over the next 4 and get to the bye at 5-3.
And that is
I guess you would love to go 4-0.
Yeah, but in a more realistic sort of situation, that is what we talked about when the schedule came out. Like, hey, if the Broncos really want to have a chance here, they got to put themselves in position where they've got a little bit of buffer space heading into this final stretch after the bye.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. It is sort of that time where you are expecting this thing to come together. So, 4 games in, you work out some of the kinks.
Yep.
No more blips.
No more blippity blips.
Boopities. And get it rolling. So, Eric, let's move on to topic number 2.
Okay.
And that is, how concerned are you about this Broncos defense after what you saw against the Raiders? Because before that, through 3 weeks, this looked like maybe one of the best defenses in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders found some success on the ground. As good as Pat Surtain was against Davante Adams, Adams still ended the day with more than 100 yards receiving. I mean, the Raiders really had a great game plan and executed well. How concerned are you?
Yeah, a few things here, Phil. I think one, the Raiders, for whatever reason, they match up well against the Broncos and the talent that the Broncos have on defense. And Josh Jacobs, for whatever reason, always plays really, really well against the Broncos. I'd like to believe that you go back to the type of defense that we've seen over the last few weeks, and I think that that's possible, especially in terms of stopping the run, because I do think you still saw positive things from a DJ Jones. Josie Jewell and Jonas Griffith, I think, have to be a little bit cleaner at the second level there. But the other part of it is that it's not just the defense on its own. The offense has to do a better job of putting them in a position where they can succeed. Because if you're asking your defense, especially when you play teams like the Chiefs or the Chargers or the Ravens, if you're asking the defense, hey, you've got to go out there and you can only give up, you've got to go 6 straight drives where the offense isn't scoring, and you can only give up 6 points total, or else this game's going to be done. That's not a recipe for success. And so you watch the Bills play the Ravens, for example, or you watch the Dolphins, with 2
back and forth, and you just need to get that critical stop. And so I think I don't want to put it entirely on the defense. I do think the offense needs to do a better job of playing complementary football and putting them in a position to succeed. All that said, I'm not too concerned about the run defense. I think they still have the pieces in place. They've shown that they're good. My bigger concern, Phil, is what do you do without Randy Gregory? Because he's been the second best defensive player, I would say, through 4 weeks.
He's really good setting the edge against the run. He's really good rushing the passer. And even when he's just going to the ball to tackle somebody who already has it, he's always a threat to rip the ball out and create a turnover. And he just has this knack, Phil, for making game-changing plays. And that was one of the things against the Raiders. There were no game-changing plays defensively. The Raiders, I believe, did not turn the ball over. Broncos were not able to get a takeaway. And so without Randy Gregory, now teams can maybe double Bradley Chubb if they want, which is going to put a lot of pressure on Nick Bonito, Baron Browning. And so that's my concern is when you play a team and Randy Gregory, if all goes well, we think could be back. He's eligible to come back against the Titans after the bye. But if he's not back by the time you play those top quarterbacks, that's scary to me. Oh,
yeah. I mean, Nick Bonito clearly hasn't lived up to some of the expectations the Broncos had for him. He doesn't really play that much, and he's been inactive a couple times. One time inactive. So not quite what you're expecting from your first pick in the draft.
Yeah, they're just a little thin there, too.
And Nathaniel Hackett was asked about it. Hey, how's he going to be ready, or is he ready? And he just said he's got to be.
Yeah.
He's just got to do it now. So Baron Browning is a guy who we saw a lot of success in the preseason, but it hasn't really translated just yet to making those big plays out there. Jonathan Cooper has been battling injury. So, yeah, they're thin there now. I mean, they're going to have to find a way to get pressure on Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has had some fumble issues this season. I think he's had 3. Ben Swanson?
Wrong.
That is way off.
9.
He's fumbled 9 times?
Yeah.
9?
Well, maybe they lost 3. Is that right? What did I see?
I don't think so.
You thought Melvin Gordon had problems? 9? Check it. How many has he lost?
Definitely 9.
He's definitely fumbled
smokes.
9 times. I saw an article like he's on pace to shatter the record.
Oh my!
Usually you don't see that in that.
Oh, I thought I saw 3. Maybe that was lost.
Maybe that was last week.
That is true. Maybe. So they got to get pressure on this guy because there are opportunities for making those game-changing plays.
Yeah, I mean, if Bradley Chubb can get off the edge here, this is a perfect week to get a strip sack.
But on the flip side, these guys can't press because that's what happened against the Raiders, or at least that's what we're hearing from the team is that some of these guys were just trying to do a little bit too much out there. They want them to just stay within the defense. And, you're talking about trying to stop the run. That's the D-line eating up the blockers and then letting linebackers come in and fill the gaps there. And not getting sucked in to different areas where all of a sudden the play gets bounced to the other side and there's just nobody there.
Yeah, there are some times you saw on film where, like a Jonas Griffith, for example, Broncos clog up the middle. He goes around the blocks and tries to make a big play, and boom, the guy goes right by him. And so you've got to just trust in the scheme. Everyone desperately wants to win football games, especially against the Raiders on the road. And I just think you saw some guys try to make that big play, but if you stay in the defense and just do your job, those plays come to you. Yeah.
Swanson, did you look up how it was?
Yeah, as lost 3.
Okay, maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what I saw.
But still, that's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, you even heard Bradley Chubb say that on that last 3rd and 1, he thought that was play action. And so he was crashing in hard, and then all of a sudden it's going the other way.
Yeah.
So,
well, and if he just – I don't want to put it on Bradley. But
no. It's just that was a big play.
If Bradley just does his job, you're going to tackle that guy for a loss. They're going to kick a field goal, and then Russ has a chance to go win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just like all the little execution, I mean, if the Broncos were even able to kick a field goal, the extra point, I mean – if they're able to execute that, then it's still just a one-possession game. You feel like you got a chance there at the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible the Raiders change the way they do things then.
Sure. But if you just want to go back and look at it, you could say it that way.
Yeah. If you want to
you could kind of look at it that way.
Yeah, you could.
You could?
I will say, I think the way that we've seen Ejiro Evero call games so far, the way we've seen the Broncos make adjustments, even I thought in the 3rd quarter, the Broncos did a good job of stopping the Raiders, and there was an opportunity there after the Raiders scored their first touchdown. It was obviously, 10-7 at that point.
Yep.
the Broncos score a field goal, force a 3-and-out, have a chance to go ahead.
That's the fumble.
Yep. In the span of like 40 minutes of game time, the Broncos essentially allowed like 2 or 3 field goals. That should be enough. And I think that, based on what we've seen so far this season, I have faith that they're going to get back to that type of team. Now, that doesn't mean that when they play the Chiefs, they're going to allow 10 points. Like, good offenses score in this league. But it's about making the big plays. I think the Broncos still have the talent to do that, but edge is now a question that you just got to figure out. And, we'll see what the Broncos have dialed up here. Maybe they send extra pressure to help out. Getting Justin Simmons back next week will help. We presume he's going to return against the Chargers. But so on the list of concerns, this isn't super high. I think you see most teams every year have a game where they give up a lot of rushing yards and they just are out-muscled for that game.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens in this league is that when one team has success against a defense, then the next team tries to do the same thing until the Broncos make an adjustment and then prove that they can slow it down. So
yeah, easier with Jonathan Taylor than without.
Yes, to do that to the Broncos. Yeah, of course. The other thing I think that it could be big is just sort of setting that tone early in the game, because it did seem like over the course of the game, Josh Jacobs started to get more and more confident and felt like he was on fire, like he could really do anything. So over the course of the game, he's gaining strength while the Broncos defense is out there for a long period of time. And then when it comes down to that final drive, I mean, that's what you talk about trying to do with the offense, is pound the ball, come the fourth quarter, the defense is a little bit tired, and then that's when you really exert your will. And so maybe if you set the tone a little bit early, like, hey, this isn't going to be happening today, this is a different team, maybe you make a big hit, and maybe Jonathan Taylor's thinking, man, I got to really be a little bit more careful here, then you change the course of the game.
Well, I think the only way you change the course of the game is, one, if you score early, because
the Broncos did that against the Raiders.
Right, but you have to score in a way that, like, you got to go up by 10 points or 2 touchdowns, a way that forces a team out of their game plan, especially a team that likes to run the ball so much. And then the second is that I think the Broncos ran 53 plays, and the Raiders must have run in the 70s.
I believe the Raiders had like 25 first downs. They just had some sustained drives.
Raiders
is what I
had
mean.
75 plays.
Raiders had 75 plays, and so in my mind, it's great if you stop Josh Jacobs on second down in the second quarter. But if the play disparity is that high, and you're out there Broncos were out there for 10 more minutes than the Raiders defense.
Yeah.
If that's the case, in my mind, it doesn't really matter what you do early. It's like that was what the Broncos did in part against San Francisco on that last drive. Was that they had not very much success at all running the ball for most of the game, but by the time you got to the fourth quarter in the red zone there, they thought they'd worn them down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the only ways to do that are, the defense can play better against the run and set the tone and all that, but you need help from the offense, because if the offense doesn't score and the offense doesn't stay on the field,
but just
it doesn't matter.
From a defensive perspective, controlling what they can control.
Yeah.
They need to set more of a physical tone, in my opinion. So, you make a big hit, it just sort of changes some of the thought process, especially on a running back.
Yeah.
Where I really felt like maybe at the end of the game there, Jacobs, he was just rolling. I mean,
because the defense was exhausted.
Yeah. So it does seem like complementary football plays a big role in this. And so, I guess it's hard to answer whether or not you're concerned about it, because it's not just up to the defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but I think you've seen that against the Niners, for example, the Broncos offense didn't do anything, and the defense was still able to find a way to hold strong. And so I think there are times when the defense can do it by itself, but it's just not sustainable for the whole season.
Yeah.
And listen, like the Niners
Good
offense.
Counterpoint to your argument.
Huh?
That would kind of went against what you were saying before there.
No, I mean, I think you can do it for like one game here or there, but it's not a sustainable way to do things.
Yeah. Especially when it's a Josh Jacobs or a Jonathan Taylor. I mean, those are different kinds of deals too.
Yeah. I mean, like the 49ers went out and scored 20-something on the Rams. I know they had a pick six, but
a lot better.
They found success.
Debo got loose.
And so Clearly, the Broncos are able to shut down a capable offense.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is a little different when they're just wearing on you.
Yeah. Eric, is it time to get the voicemails?
I think so.
Let's get to our first one. This is our good friend Zach with a C.
What's up, guys? It's Zach with a C. I'm calling in with my prediction for Week 5 against the Colts. I consider myself a bit of a horse whisperer, and I know one thing, and that's baby ponies got nothing to do with the big old bucking Bronco. I'm calling 38-14. We're going to have a strip sack touchdown and 3 sacks of Matt Ryan, who is, in fact, a Stone Age pony in the backfield of the Colts quarterback room. 38-14. Roll Broncos, go country, ride horses, roll country, right out. Nay.
Classic tag out there from Zach with a C.
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll be leaving a voicemail with a potential intro for us.
I hope so, Zach C. I mean,
Enter the competition.
yeah. If you missed the beginning of the show, do you miss beginnings of podcasts? I'm not sure if that's.
I think people,
You're not paying attention.
we drag on a little bit, so I could see
you're
somebody
just skipping ahead.
skipping ahead to the good stuff.
Or maybe you are playing it like on 3 times speed.
Yeah,
You know, zzz, right to voicemails.
really good.
Yeah. We did mention off the top that we are holding a contest here on how I should introduce Eric, because nothing's more controversial than saying my everything.
Right. So send in your voicemail. We'll listen to the best ones. We'll play some of the best options, and then we'll decide.
Yeah. But I do believe Zach with a C there said bucking Bronco.
Important to clarify because
Yeah, bucking. This is a family
I don't know
program.
if it sounded like that, but if that was the intent, that's good.
The Google Voice transcribed it a different word.
Oh, what did they say, Swanson?
It was all asterisk. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, this is a family
Ducking?
show. So
Ducking?
Broncos going under something.
something like that.
What did you think about his score prediction? 38 points for the Broncos? He's not
Wow.
concerned about anything.
No, sounds like you.
Alberto, couple touchdowns. Nick Benito, 3 sacks.
Wow, you got to just blast guys, huh? You're just throwing little shots in there.
You know what I do is I watch the game and then I think
Zach
about
did
it.
a nice little positive voicemail, and you're like, how can I turn this mean?
I didn't.
How can I make
didn't
this
say
really
that.
mean?
No, I didn't say that. I said he's confident.
Yeah.
That's what I.
38 points would be great. I think that would be a breakout game, would do a lot for this team's confidence and show it what it's capable of. And listen, I think it's certainly possible. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. He can get the ball out. He still has all the arm talent you want. But I do think the Broncos are going to have chances to make plays defensively, maybe have a couple of short fields, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan is in a very similar situation to Russell Wilson, where played his whole career with one team, had a lot of success there.
Yep.
Did not win a Super Bowl, but came close.
Yep. Won an MVP.
Won an MVP. Russ does not have that.
Of course.
And then now he's with a new team.
That's very
trying
similar.
to figure things out.
Very similar.
Very similar. Let's get to our next voicemail here, and this one's from Tom Agnetti.
Gentlemen, Tom Agnetti here. I hope you're having a good week. I was looking forward to tomorrow's matchup against the Colts because it's actually my birthday. I don't really celebrate the birthday, but a birthday with the win, that would be quite nice. Make my week very good. We'll get an extended feel good for, what would it be, about 10 days till the next game, which is a bonus. Anyway, I look forward to this week's game. I expect us to win. And what are your thoughts on us signing Latavius Murray? I thought that was an interesting pickup. I don't really know much about him. I just know he was in the league on the Saints, and then didn't really hear too much about him. Kind of had a little positive spurt there, and then nothing more. Just curious if he'll see much time. I guess they're going to need him. Thanks. Have a good week. Bye.
Some light editing on the voicemail there. So, Tom, if you're wondering, hey, you didn't play my whole thing, got to keep it nice and tight.
Yeah, 8 minutes was a little too long.
8 was a little bit long, I think.
Yeah.
Tom also sounded a little bit down.
A little morose.
A little bit down. But we do wish Tom a happy birthday.
Of course.
He didn't say he's really going to be celebrating much, but, Broncos win would go a long way.
Tom's birthday is tomorrow, today, yesterday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's game day.
It's game day.
If it's your birthday and the Broncos win, that's a pretty good day.
It's a win day.
Win day.
Yeah.
How many win days does an average person have?
Probably not many.
Yeah, I
You
know.
got to get pretty lucky to have a game day on your birthday.
For example, for me, the
Never.
Broncos have never won on my birthday ever,
Never lost ever.
and they've never lost. No.
Yeah.
So it's that 500, I guess. 0-0.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
You got to get in the game
Keep
a
it
little
right
bit.
in the middle.
500 or is that's 100%? Zero.
What
out
is
of
0-0?
I don't know.
Error.
That's why we have Ben Swanson here, and he can't even answer it. That's how complicated it is. Anyway, we didn't really talk about Latavius Murray much here. You expect him to play. Of course, the Broncos went out and picked up the veteran running back from the Saints practice squad. He played last weekend for the Saints, had a touchdown in London, flew back here, and then came over to Denver.
Yeah. I've gone back and forth. If I were to guess, I'd say no. Not just because of learning the system, but he just played a football game like 4 days ago, and then it was in a different country, and he's got to fly back and play on a short week. The NFL doesn't ask anybody to do that, and so that might be a little bit much on his body. And so I think you take the smart route here, and if he is active, I can't see him getting more than a couple of snaps.
What if he slept in a hyperbaric chamber or something?
Well, maybe that helps then, but the league does not ask anybody to play in London and then play on a short week.
Or what about, one of those like a zero gravity pool things?
Uh-huh.
You just stay in there for 3 days.
Could be really nice.
And then, like, say on Thursday, you just open that thing. It's like
come
a
out.
lot of smoke, a lot of fog and everything.
Yep.
And then you come out of there and you're just ready to go.
Ooh.
It's like in some of those sci-fi movies where they're in outer space going to like a really distant planet, and they just sort of they stay. It's not dead, but they like put into some sort of a hibernation.
Ted Williams?
No. Walt Disney.
Oh.
No.
I think Ted Williams did it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a point of contention too.
Oh.
Yeah, both.
Elvis?
Anyway, this is a kind of thing where your body just it sort of hits pause on your body, and then you restart it again.
Got it.
You could do one of those things.
He could. I saw him in person, and he wasn't in one of those things.
Oh, really? He was
He was just
walking
standing
around
there.
What'd you say to him?
I said, cheerio.
Oh, but he's not British.
But maybe you pick it up a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think you'll come back with an accent?
I hope so. You think you'll come back with an accent?
Maybe.
We'll have to see.
Could help me sound smarter.
Yeah, it could. That
You know,
would be helpful. Any help you can get.
really. I mean, that is true. So we'll see if Latavius Murray plays.
I think in the future he could have a more significant role, but this week in particular, asking a little much.
You could just be like, look, I'm gonna get the ball and I'm gonna give it to you, and then you go in this direction.
It's pretty easy, huh?
It would be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how to fact check this, but he might be the first player to play 2 games in London in the same season.
Well, he hasn't played a game in London yet. Or, like, he hasn't played the second game. Who
Well,
knows?
yeah,
He hasn't played one, though.
Who knows what could happen?
Fact check, has he played one?
That's true.
Who knows what could happen?
I'm just
That is
saying.
true.
It's a long way
possibility.
away.
It's interesting.
It really is. I mean, that's a few weeks away. So
Yeah.
he has a potential to maybe do that.
At
but
least once.
yeah, I think.
Like the Broncos signed Joe Schobert in the offseason during training camp, and everyone's like, man, this guy's going to start. And then 2 weeks later, he was not on the football team. 10 days
Yes.
later.
Yeah, but Latavius has done this.
Well, Joe
This
Schobert.
season.
Yeah.
Schobert has not done it this season.
Fact check. Probably.
Yeah. Maybe, if anything, I would imagine if he plays, it'll be a running play when he's out there, and it'll only be like a handful.
Yeah.
So hard to expect him to just be out there and then know the offense in terms of passing situations. Although Nathaniel Hackett says that they have like a little program set up where a new player comes in, you're supposed to be able to learn this thing pretty easily. Even though it took NASA scientists, years to come up with this thing.
Uh-huh.
So
You love NASA.
I love NASA.
You got any more voicemails?
That's the only voicemail, but we did have an email from John Jornad.
Oh, yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull this up because it was pretty good. It said, Eric, Mr. Swanson, misspelled. Swanson. That's okay. And Phil, I'll let that slide because this is a very nice.
For you.
I can't believe how impressed I was with Phil at the brewery. Telling Melvin's propensity to fumble was right on. Every time he touches the ball, I'm afraid he's going to lose the game for us. especially on the goal line. Phil rattled off those games that I would have had to look up. Then Eric tried to interject now he isn't going to do that. Bogus. But he also spelled it bogus. Maybe he was in a hurry, I think, because it was so good. I can't believe you even said that, Eric. The only bright spot was Hamler's catch. P.S. Phil's memorization of game stats was impressive, too, until Eric pressed him on a few specifics. Then the good old Phil, should be old, I think, showed up. Made me laugh out loud. You guys are the best. Thank you very much, John. That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah, and he still got a little shot in there at the end, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
We also got another email here. This one's from Bailey Holmes. This one comes from Australia.
Oh, yeah?
So
Melbourne?
The topic is good day. Good day from Australia. Hello, lads. First time in contact with the show all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a huge Broncos fan and love listening to your podcast. One thing I've loved so far this season is the times of our games. The early games on Sunday, your time, start like at 3 to 4 a.m. on Monday mornings in Australia. All of our games so far have started at 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. They've been easy viewing all the way from Australia. Love your work, guys. Bailey.
I like how you just do the accent for Australia. None of the other words.
What do you think? No, and I said Melbourne.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people say Melbourne.
Melbourne Gordon.
Melbourne. That's true. Melbourne Gordon. That's nice.
Thanks.
You did that one good.
I appreciate it.
Eric, tell people how they can get involved in the show.
Wow, Phil. So many ways. You can leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. You can leave a voicemail at 707-NEUTRAL. While you're doing it, make sure to leave your audition for the start of the show, how Phil should introduce me. Then, Phil, you could contact us directly on Twitter, at Eric Delala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. Non-traditional spellings. Or at Broncos Podcasts or Broncos Podcasts.
That's a good account.
Really good account.
What if you what if you were feeling crazy and you're like, I want to contact Ben Swanson?
Don't.
I think it's really difficult. I think it's Denver Broncos
or
some sort of photo somewhere involved in
plastic
there.
wrap Gerald or something.
It's really
confusing.
It is confusing. There's so many accounts. He's got to have all these burner accounts because he's blasting people.
Or Phil, you could join us at Breckenridge Brewery's farmhouse, trying to make it a farm home. I think we're almost there.
We're almost there.
On Monday night, we'll be there. Not Friday night.
Not Friday.
No.
Monday,
you
yes.
go a little crazy on a Friday night.
Especially after a win.
That's right.
Yeah.
Monday night, 5:30 to about 6:15, live in person or on the Broncos official YouTube.
Yeah. Leave a comment.
That's right.
We like to make that one really interactive. That's a fun show. That's a fun show. We get riled up a little bit. I get riled up.
That's right.
Have a couple bevies.
Yeah.
It's a nice time. It's a nice time. All right. Time for some shout outs, Eric. You got anybody?
So.
Wow. Liz Gerald's, I think.
Liz, yeah.
For sure.
This is the Fight Like a Bronco.
Yeah, a crucial catch
for the Broncos, honoring cancer survivors and those who have battled cancer.
Yep. They're going to do a nice little thing at halftime.
Yep.
And then I believe before the game,
pre-game reception.
A nice little reception
for them that way. Yeah. Yeah. Good, nice cause.
Yes, that is a something to watch for.
Yeah.
On Thursday. I even think that some of it's going to be in the broadcast. So even if you're watching at home, you'll be able to see some of it. So that's nice. Anything else? I'm trying to think of. What about Aaron Judge?
No.
You're not going to.
No.
62.
He's got 11 more to go. What are we congratulating him about?
Oh, so you're a believer of the Barry Bonds.
Yeah. No one's like, oh, he's the AFC West touchdown leader. Congrats.
That would be a division, not a whole conference.
No one even does the AFC touchdown leader.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, okay, so what? Both, I think the top 3, 4
home run leaders, or is that what you're talking about?
Touchdown leaders.
Oh, got it.
It's Peyton, Mahomes, past Brady, right? For single season.
Oh, single season. I believe so. Him? Yeah, because it's Peyton has 55.
Yeah, then Mahomes and Brady, one of them has 51.
51, I think.
Then Peyton has 50 one year.
Yep.
In Indy.
When he broke Marino.
Or 49, something like that.
49.
Marino had 48. So the top 4 guys are all in the AFC.
Yeah.
So the NFC touchdown record is...
Who knows? Ben Swanson?
15.
Rodgers at 48, so he's tied for 5th.
Rodgers had 48.
So, like, if he
But there's no, you don't think these guys are helping themselves out with something that's banned?
what? How do you know
Like
that Aaron
the Barry
Judge isn't
Bonds.
doing that?
Well, I don't know. That is, everybody just sort of assumes that he hasn't.
Yeah.
That is sort of the assumption. But for example, Barry Bonds, I think he's not in the Major League
That's true.
Hall of Fame.
Fact check
right?
true.
So, yeah. So you would think that the home run leader would be in there.
You would think that, and he should be in there.
Sort of confusing.
Agree.
Yeah. The thing about Barry is that his hand-eye contact,
He's contacting
not contact, coordination.
Hand-eye.
There you go.
Coordination
Really
was
good.
so good. He didn't really need the help, but
I think it helped.
well, obviously it helped. But I mean, he was a Hall of Fame player without it. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
It probably just helped prevent some injury, I would think.
And made him really jacked.
Yeah, that's true. Hat size, I think.
Like,
went
you could take as many steroids as you wanted, Phil. You couldn't hit a home run.
up. No, I couldn't.
You still got. You still
true.
got to have.
I got to be able to see the ball.
You got to have some degree of athleticism.
You have to be able to twist your back.
And I got to be, yeah, I got to twist. I got to, well, I think the power comes from the ground,
Yep.
okay? And then, but also I have to be brave enough to stand in there and take a pitch.
Yeah. You're.
How many of us
There are
could take a
some-
pitch?
you're notably
I don't even know if
soft.
I'd take a pitch.
No, me
It'd
either.
be scary.
Throw some chin music at you.
I will say Bonds did put on a lot of armor. I mean,
Yeah.
he was
could-
suited up.
Well, they try to hit him.
Yeah. I mean, he could battle like gladiators.
Anyway, there's nothing for me to.
So you're not going to say Aaron?
No.
Can I do a shout out?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the Colts have John Fox as a senior defensive assistant. He was the first coach when I started working here. Turned the Broncos around, had a major hand in that.
It's true. We love Foxy.
Swanson, of course, shouted out Josh McDaniels last week,
Yeah.
I was hoping for
and look what happened.
yeah.
So
You're just
Hopefully
all on the
something
former
different.
coach.
This is a sincere one. I like Foxy.
He had some really good one-liners. Do you have a favorite
they
one?
get paid too.
They get paid too.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. And of course, he played a big reason in getting Peyton Manning
Yep.
to
course.
Denver. So you got to thank him for that.
He used to
you,
do those
John.
Monday morning chats where
It was more
very
like a
different.
fireside type of deal. You know, you'd sit down. It was just sort of a little more casual conversation.
It's
on
almost like a
Mondays.
classroom. Like everyone was just sitting in a circle.
Gathered around.
Love that.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
That was
Nice
nice to
job.
bring that up. That was good. That was a good one. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Hopefully, you had time to listen to this one before the game.
Hopefully.
And also, happy birthday, Tom Magnetti.
Yep.
And hello to Australia.
Of course.
Bailey, thank you for the email. So that's going to do it for us. For Ben Swanson and Eric Dalala, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.